The droid you are looking for, Canada. Tech Review. Special guest, the Kerplunq, Ryan Erola.
So what'd you bring today? Because I know you brought the Galaxy X5, and you also said you brought some other things with you. What did you bring?
The two other phones are the LG G Flex.
Whoa.
And also the HTC One M8.
Now, I had an HTC One X, which was a good phone, I would say. But I wasn't overly impressed with a lot of the functionality with it, because compared to it was a downgrade for me going from a Galaxy S3 to the HTC One because my S3 screen got smashed. I guess we'll just start with the HTC then. What's the huge difference from the previous models to this one?
Quite a few things. First of all, they're still using their own kind of interface on top of Android. It's very neat, very tidy. They had it over on the HTC One. Mm-hmm. Big thing, their headphones that say HTC are actually just rebranded Beats headphones.
Yep. So,
quite good there. Cool things, the body's actually made of metal, not plastic, so it could take a little bit of a beating. It's got the huge quad-core processor in it. As far as I'm aware of, ours are 32 gigs in Canada, but I think they still have a 16 gig model as well. And it actually supports up to 128 gigabyte cards. Which is pretty
that's
big.
A huge upgrade, because my HTC One did not support cards, which was a massive piss off.
Exactly.
It only had an onboard 16, so that didn't take long for me to fill. I never thought I would say that I can fill a 16, but you'd be surprised how fast you can.
And then when the One came out, the model, at least as far as I'm aware of, with Rogers, it didn't have a memory card support either. It was just built-in memory, but I believe it was 32 gigs. But this one here does come in a 16 and a 32, and it also has a micro SD card slot, which I think all phones should honestly have.
I agree. I think that should be the standard nowadays.
Agreed.
Especially if you want to stay in the cell phone race against Samsung, and especially with Apple nowadays.
Yep. Another big difference, which pissed a lot of customers off, is when companies change SIM card sizes. So you have your standard and then your micro, and then currently iPhone 5, 5C, and 5S use something called a nano SIM. Mm-hmm. The HTC One M8 actually takes a nano SIM as well.
Really?
Yep.
Now, you can buy... I know there's been people that's been able to, I hate to say cut it, but I have seen it. And I've also seen people get to the card adapters as well. So if they did go to this phone and then they want to go back to the other phone, they can just slide the Nano into a card adapter. Do you think that's a good or a bad idea?
I think both are a horrible idea. If you cut them wrong, that SIM card is useless. Mm-hmm. If you cut it right, but you didn't cut it with something sharp enough, you can have shards of plastic that gets into your phone and destroys it. Because I've actually seen a lot of phones, like mainly iPhones, when they went to the micro SIM, a lot of customers were cutting their cards, but they weren't clean cuts. And what was happening was, A, the cards didn't work, or B, there was plastic that got into the actual phones and ruined some of the SIM card readers. As for an adapters, it depends on what the old phone was.
Right.
If it's like most phones where you actually have to slide it into like the SIM card jacket size, I wouldn't do it. We used to do that with some of our loaner phones, and when you'd pull it out, it would pull the pins out as well, so the phones are broken.
Okay. Now, if you had to pick one thing that stands out, what would be the selling point? What would be the biggest selling point of this HTC One over its predecessors?
The build quality.
Okay.
When it's in your hand, it's not like it rocks a 5-inch screen, but the bezel around it is very, very tiny, so it looks like it's a full screen in your hand. It's rounded on the back, so it sits in your hand a little bit nicer. It's heavy. So it feels like you're actually holding something. And just the overall make of the phone, I think, is solid.
Now, I think the selling point for me, the HTC One originally was the front-facing speakers. I believe this model carries that as well.
Yeah, it's got one on the top, one on the bottom, front-facing. Fantastic.
Because nothing is more annoying is when you're trying to show your friend a video and you have to do, I call it the cup technique.
Yep.
So that the audio bounces off your hand back at your face so you can actually hear it. I think that's ingenious that HTC did that.
Agreed.
And also, HTC, this one also had if I can't recall if you said that, they upgraded the front camera as well?
Yes. Well, we didn't say it, but yeah, they did upgrade the front camera.
Okay. That's definitely a huge thing, because I can tell you what is more annoying. Like, even with my Galaxy S4, the front camera's quality is still, yeah.
Yeah, for all those selfies?
Yeah. I guess I can't do these selfies anymore of me in bathrooms. Do not ask questions.
That's the selfie natural habitat, I believe.
It's got to be in a bathroom. It's got to be in a creepy bathroom on Casablanca exit on the way home.
Yeah. But yeah, with the front-facing camera, it is a 5-megapixel camera. It can record up to 1080p, full high-def resolution. And that's just the front-facing camera, which is rather impressive.
Not ready. Rick, are you with us?
I'm ready. I'm here.
Stop breaking our shit.
I'm sorry. But it's so much fun.
I don't know if you're giving them shit or jerking off.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Okay, so we just finished a review of the HTC. Sorry that you missed it, Rick. Sorry.
Which one?
HTC One M8.
Yeah,
the M8?
M8.
Okay.
And if you have not yet seen the commercial for it, it's a 30-second commercial. Go on YouTube. It's got Commissioner Gordon doing it.
Oh yeah, the blah 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 one.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Yeah. It's a very bold statement in that commercial.
Is commercials on Netflix?
I don't think it'll be on Netflix.
No, then I don't see it. I'm too cheap. I can't afford cable.
Oh, I don't have cable. Period. Even though
I'll look it up then. Fine. Okay, and what's the next one you want to review? It was the LG...
that I would like to talk about is the LG G Flex.
That just sounds dirty. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep it clean here, but...
Well, I have a huge love-hate relationship with LG. They make some of the best phones in the world, and North America never ever sees them.
I can agree to that. I remember my LG phone was so horrible. It was the LG Eve. It was a Droid 1.6.
Yeah.
It was so sad.
Now, you do know that LG does put their appliance parts in their phones. That's why they freeze all the time.
Oh.
Cheesemo joke. It was awesome.
But I guess I'm going to point this out right away because I know you're going to go there right away. Is that why is this camera curved? I'm sorry, why is this phone curved?
Well, talking with the LG rep, and instead of having a flagship phone, because their G2 right now is their big flagship, they're going with something innovative. Instead of doing what everybody else is doing, they're trying to be a little bit different. Now, this phone does have a few differences than any other phone. A, it's curved.
Okay.
It also can straighten out. You could push it down. So the whole point of it is you could slap it in your back pocket. Though it is a 6-inch screen, so you must have some pretty big pockets. And it's supposed to bend along with if you sit down instead of having it just in one of your front pockets. Also, the back has that self-healing plastic, so it's a bit of a softer plastic from what I understand. So if it scratches, not carving it with like a knife or something, but if you have keys in your pocket and they bang up against the phone, over time, it will actually self-heal itself and get rid of some of those scratches.
Interesting. I remember this conversation, I can't remember where I read it, about the self-healing plastic and as well the curvature to the phones that are coming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is there going to be a huge market for this? Because I understand the concept of it.
See, when it comes to some phones, a lot of people don't grab a lot of phones because they're slightly different. Now, when we start talking about these large phones, so stuff like the Note 3, the LG Flex, stuff like the Sony Z1, all these giant, massive phones, they're actually called phablets.
Phablets.
Yeah, phablets. F-A-B, and then lits, like tablets. Anyways, with these units, they are a very, very small market because a lot of people don't want these large, giant phones. So when you have these big, giant phones, each one tries to stand out because you have, like, the Note 3 has its S Pen. It's got like picture-in-picture. It's made to be an all-in-one unit. It's supposed to be a miniature tablet that you could call and text on. When you have something like the Sony Z1, it's made to be a very durable device. So it's drop-proof, it's waterproof, and they really talk a lot about their 20.7 megapixel camera on the Z1. A lot of the commercials show a lot of other pictures or video work being done underwater with the phone. And then you have the Flex. And the whole point of the Flex is it's supposed to be a comfortable all-in-one device. So it curves with your face. The weirdest thing in the world is the power button. Just like the G2, the power and the volume up and down are on the very middle of the back of the phone. Pretty much where your camera is on your Samsung.
Interesting.
So what they have is something called knock, like knocking on a door. And what you do is you just tap on the screen, and it turns it on. You tap on the screen twice to wake it up. Tap on the screen twice, and it'll turn the screen off. Yeah. And it's probably one of the most powerful phones on the market, and it also has the biggest battery of any of the smartphones right now. But there is a flaw to it. It's only running Jelly Bean. It is not on KitKat yet.
Okay. Now, I think that LG's got quite a reputation for providing horrible products. I think I'm sure we can all agree to that.
I think that might be an understatement. Yeah. Now, what I have noticed working the field for as long as we have, LG's really picked up their pants, put them on, and went to work once they started with the G, which was the first quad-core phone that was launched. Their G2, pretty solid device. And then the Flex, because it's been out for about a week or so now, lots of good responses have been coming with it. With the screen, though, like I said, because you could flex it, right? The reason why the screen doesn't break as easy is because it's plastic now. It's not glass.
Okay.
So, LG, and I really do hate to say it because I hate LG. All the crap that I've had in the past, those LG, and then having to deal with customers I've sold LGs to, and all the negative feedback. The last 3 devices that they've launched in Canada, fantastic devices.
I guess, Rick, what was the name of that phone you had?
I have the Note 3.
No, before that, you had an LG.
I've never had an LG. I stopped using LG back when they made indestructible phones. You know, the little generic.
No, that's Nokia.
No. What was the? Who made the Optimus?
Yeah, the Optimus is an LG device.
Didn't you have a Raider as well at one point?
Yeah, that's the HTC.
Oh,
yeah,
HTC
I
Raider.
had an HTC Raider also. It was fantastic.
For some reason I thought you had the LG Optimus. I don't remember who had that phone. Because that phone was actually very good too.
I actually had 2 Raiders at one point, but I actually, in response to the Flex, it's actually been out down here for a little over a month.
Oh, okay.
I got to go to, because I have the every 6 months you can get a new phone thing with T-Mobile. So we just pop into the stores, we look at what they have, and I got to play with it for a little bit. I got to hold it.
Yep.
It's interesting. I don't know, it's just because I'm partially biased that I'm not a huge fan of LG, but it didn't impress me enough to want to give up my Note 3.
Oh, I wouldn't say I'd give up a Note for one either. But the way I look at phones is I don't look at their name brand at first. I look at the actual product. If the LG Flex was the Samsung Flex or the Nokia Flex or, geez, even like a Sony Flex, I would buy it in a heartbeat. I actually think it's a pretty good phone compared to my S4.
The other thing that it didn't have, and I mean, it's really kind of a nitpicking thing, but it's something that I've grown accustomed to that I kind of have to have on my phones now, is external memory. I love being able to pop that memory card in. When it's acting finicky, I can pop that memory card out, put it straight into a computer, everything like that. I use a lot of quote-unquote hacked software, so you can't always load it straight onto the phone. So
It's true. That is true.
I have to have that memory card. So a lot of the devices nowadays are coming out without the memory card capabilities, but I tend to stay towards Samsung because they keep putting external memory in just about every device they come out with.
It's true, and actually, if you were on the call a little bit earlier when we were talking about the HTC M8, they actually launched it with a memory card slot for once. It supported up to 128 gigabytes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, I was just reading, which I just wanted. It was a kind of a side note there, and because I feel that the cell phones have lost their uniqueness, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like they all look the same now, and I was just looking at an article on Geek.com about the iPhone 6, and to me, when I look at it. Basically it's about how they're being delayed by several months because of the glass.
That's an LG product, by the way. The glass.
Oh yes.
On an iPhone is LG, and most of the parts are Samsung.
Well, I know because I remember that little patent war when they were trying to fuck each other over because they kind of exchange parts in some way at one point or another. So they're constantly trying to screw the other person out of something, but because they're going to like the 5.5-inch iPhone screen, which is cool, but I mean, when I look at this phone, I'm like, you're not different. Because when the iPhone came out years ago, it was different. Everyone knew what an iPhone was. But now when you look at the LGs, the Samsungs, the Xperia series, the iPhones, the Motorola Razr series, they all look identical. And I feel that it doesn't matter what you're buying nowadays. The only thing you're buying right now is what operating system you're going to be using. So it feels like you got a computer again. Are you running Windows? Are you running Linux? Are you running Mac? It doesn't have, it doesn't stand out anymore. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I agree with you on that one.
Because this sounds really stupid, but I got into a heated argument with my girlfriend over cell phone cases because I have an OtterBox in my S4, and it's like do you remember the Nokia 2200 where you actually can pop the case and put whatever the hell you want? You can print out
plates and everything like that. Yeah, that was sweet.
You know the best part about it though, if the Nokia
they're still alive.
No, but I mean. iPhone falls to the ground, iPhone smashes. Nokia falls to the ground, breaks the floor.
It's true.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's no creativity to the phones anymore. Basically, what you're paying for is the operating system it's going to be using now.
No, I totally agree with you. I remember about 10 years ago when we first started working in the cell phone industry, Nokia was pumping out some of the craziest designs because they wanted to be known as the designer phones. And they had some of the coolest looking designs I've ever seen, and still have ever seen, were all old school Nokias from about 10 years ago.
Right. Do you remember, and a lot of people don't know this, I don't know if Rick knows, Rick, have you ever heard of the Virtua phones?
Yes.
Shoes.
Yeah, those
want a gold phone.
Like $600-700 Nokia phones that are all leather and diamond encrusted, and they come with concierge and shit.
6 or 7. Try 6 or 7,000.
Yeah, okay.
They were
gold, platinum plated.
There's actually some that come so that they sync instantly with your Ferrari.
So when you're hitting that homeless person across the street when you're drinking and driving, don't worry, you'll have your Virtua phone on standby.
Yeah.
Here's one. On that topic you were saying, Nokia coming across with like all the new phone, like they were trying to be something different. It's only a concept, but check out the Nokia Morph.
Oh, is that the one that could bend and turn into like bracelets and stuff?
Exactly. Yeah, like the nanotechnology.
Yeah.
If they can actually make that happen, that just brings a whole new realm into it.
Well, that's the first nanotech phone, and it's a great idea. Nokia is not dead in the market as much as people think they are.
Absolutely not.
They're still thriving over in Europe. And especially with the recent Nokia Lumina series that's coming out with the 49 megapixel camera or whatever crazy shit that is. I mean, they're clearly trying to be something different. And that's something Nokia has always thrived on, back to Ryan's comment, is that Nokia wants to be its own identity. It's like, okay, fine, you have the Apple logo. Well, I can take a picture and keep zooming in, and then eventually, after splicing your DNA with my camera picture, I will see Jesus Christ give me the thumbs up. Like, I'm going to be able to see that further into you.
It's true. It's true. I've seen it twice.
But and then when I heard about the morph a while ago, but the morph was an idea that's been kicked around since 2008.
Or even longer than that, because I was still living in Niagara when I was looking at those videos, and it's about 5 or 6 years ago. Yep. Easily.
Well, yeah, it's 2008.
Oh, yeah, I guess so, isn't it?
You're old! Stop crying! Start crying, use those lubrication.
Now, actually, just before you get into the morph, the whole thing with Nokia, because they came out about a year ago stating that they don't want to be the top of the line cell phone creator. Because they know they can't catch up because they're running Windows. They know that. So what they've come out by saying is they want to be the user-friendly old person or your first smartphone. So they want you to position them as, oh, hello, Mr. Customer, this is going to be your first smartphone? You want a Nokia because everything's right on the front. And that's actually their whole positioning right now. But on the same note, they've just released the Nokia X, which is an Android-based Nokia.
Which is definitely something I didn't see coming. Especially since, they are... how much does Microsoft own of Nokia?
They don't own, they have partnership.
Partnership.
About $1 billion worth, I think. It's something ridiculous. Because Nokia said that they were on a burning oil platform and they needed to jump into the unknown, and Nokia gave them a big bag of money, and they said yes.
Well, do you exactly blame them? I mean, Nokia has been taking a beating for the longest time now. So it's not really their fault.
Well, when you run Symbian, which is the original smartphone operating system, and you don't jump off of it, you kind of need to do something to save the company. And I'm glad to say that Nokia is not gone, and I'm glad that they're not gone. Because
I'm not going to say Symbian was bad. Like, they also made that Tron phone that was actually pretty badass. The N7, I want to say it was. That's still a pretty cool movie. I mean, cool game. Whatever, phone thing.
They also made the Matrix phone, too. That's pretty badass in itself.
Remember when I was trying to find that fucking phone so I can buy it?
On Phone Scoop for like days, searching every fucking...
I gotta buy this phone! I need to be in the Matrix! I need to understand! Alright. Wow. Alright, moving on to the S5. It is finally here.
It is.
There's a quick little thing I'm going to throw a little uppercut into, is that PayPal launched its swipe payment app with the Galaxy S5. Now that is awesome.
Using SureTap SIM cards in Canada.
That's going to be quite a selling point, because I remember a long time ago, I don't even remember, what was it, 2004? 3?
Yeah, it was about 10 years ago when they were talking about Japan doing it with their vending machines.
They'll basically go and swipe their phone to get a Coke or something like that?
Yeah, I've been waiting for this, just like you, man, for 10 years.
What was it, NFC technology?
It was NFC. It was like the very first stages of NFC about 10 years ago in Japan. That's correct.
Wow. You're getting old when?
And
I think that the Galaxy S5, just looking at it in first impressions, and then I'm going to bow out and let you two talk, because I know Rick's already said he's probably got nothing positive to say about it, so I'm just going to kind of just usher out in the background. We'll just do like a UFC event. I'll be like, you ready? Let's bring it on. I'll be back here. I'll be back here. I think, it honestly, just first impressions looking at it, I'm happy I have an S4, because I don't feel like I got hosed. Because it looks exactly the same. It doesn't have a uniqueness to it to me anyways. Maybe from a Galaxy 3 to Galaxy 5 it would, but not from a 4 to 5. I think that the Galaxy series phones should be spread out a lot more. They should follow the plan that Apple has done, where they pop out one iPhone a year, so that it's new, it's fresh every time they get a new phone out there. And with that said, I'm out. Go ahead, Ron.
So you want me to go first?
Well, you can treat this like a debate. We can flip a coin if you would like.
No, I'll say my piece with it.
Oh, okay.
So, yesterday being launch in Canada, I was the lucky person who ended up having to work. Like, I work every launch. So, the box that it comes in looks like the S4's box. The phone itself looks like an S4, but it is slightly larger. When you turn it on, it looks like an S4, except for one thing. If you slide all the way over to the left, so from your home screen, you slide over, to the right, not the left, to the right, to the last page that's actually on the left. It's the magazine hub, which I think is absolutely useless. But for people that read, I guess, magazines and stuff, newspaper articles on their phone, because I guess they bus or train to work, it's a handy tool, because you just swipe over, you're right into it. Being in the field and having to go into settings and switch everything, they've changed it up yet again. Now, because if you go on your S3, go into settings, it was all in a list. If you went into your S4 or your Note 3, if you go into settings, you have 4 nice tabs where everything is categorized very nice and neat. You go into the S5s and it's a list of icons. It looks like ISO 7 when you go into your settings. It's just a bunch of circle apps and you have to search around forever to find something. Mainly because it's new, of course everything is in its own place, but I don't find it very user-friendly. Other than it being slightly larger than the S4, the back has some dots on the back, and it's got some waterproofing to it. I would say it's a good buy if you have an S2 and you're looking at upgrading.
Okay. Rick, what is your argument, if there is an argument?
I will agree with you on if you're looking at, if you have an S2, the magazine that you were talking about, I have the Note 3. So I'm looking at this as a perspective of, I have a Note 3, is it worth for me to change to the S5?
Nope.
Absolutely not.
No.
I have the magazine app, the only difference is I flick from bottom to top.
Yes.
It's useless, and to be totally honest, it's freaking annoying. There's so many times that I accidentally flip it and all of a sudden I'm looking at magazines. I never set them up. I'd rather read a physical magazine. I don't see any use for it.
Do they still make magazines?
They do, actually. I've got a few of them in the bathroom because that's usually where I read them.
Giggity.
I get free ones shipped to my house every week.
But, I mean, and the golf ball back, it's cute. The fact that it does have some waterproofing to it, that's nice. They went with, because they had the S4 Active. It looks like they're trying to a lot of companies are trying to go towards that more, not ruggedized, but, life-proof.
And I actually rather like that.
I do too. I think that's a good idea. I know that if it's humid and I have my Note 3, I'm probably going to trip the LDIs. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, to have that waterproofing, yeah, that's a good idea. It's just, they keep coming out with phones, and like Todd said, they're coming out with them so frequently now that there's just not enough difference. You pretty much need to skip 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 generations of phones to get a wow factor out of it.
I totally agree with that.
I pretty much have a lot of the same specs as the S5 has right now. There's a few things, but in terms, I'm looking at it, and even if I had the S4, there's not enough difference for me to make me rush out and go get this.
Well, unless you broke your S4, then I would suggest it.
Yeah, but for me to go to T-Mobile right now and trade my Note 3 in, not gonna happen.
I think that they should adopt maybe a video game philosophy to things, that if you're popping out a Mortal Kombat every 3 months, eventually people are not going to want to play Mortal Kombat anymore. Like, they did do that. Like, they saturate the market so goddamn much, and then they're like, well, no one's buying phones. Well, everyone's fucking broke because you keep popping a phone, and especially with how cell phones structure contracts and termination fees. Now they're introducing the tabs everywhere. Almost every company has a type of tab now to rack up yourself into a huge pile of debt for a phone. I think the cell phone companies need to slow down a little bit. Like, I mean, Nokia would say in January, September, we are bringing out the Nokia 8265, and then they would spend the next 9 months advertising it. They'll release low-level phones from point A to point B, but they made sure that the flagship was the one that everyone would save up their dimes and nickels and fucking child support for. Not happening now. Everyone's just like, well, my phone breaks tomorrow.
We've launched 3 Nokias in the last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so Nokia is bad. A bad example. Now, I was just saying with like the tabs and everything. At least I know with my company, your buyout is what you saved on your phone at a discount. So your buyout, you're just buying out if you were to buy the phone outright, which makes more sense than back in the day where you bought $100 flip phone and you have a month left of your 3-year contract, and then they're like, yeah, it's $1,000 to get out. Now it's like, okay, it'd be like $15 and then you're out. Like, that's the way things are set up, at least with my company. I don't know anybody else because I don't work for anybody else, and personally I don't really care about any other company. But with at least the one I work with, if you want out now, it's a 2-year term, your phone is discounted for how many months you've had it, and it's like buying the phone outright.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is for me, too.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of good that the cell phone carriers are slowly starting to see it that way, because I know that AT&T also adopted the philosophy as well, and because you always had the low-level companies doing it before, like Wind and Kudu and whatever, and now you got the big companies going, wait a minute, this is actually probably a good idea. We can probably increase our revenue now if we get, if we start offering it, and there's going to be limitations, of course, but if we start offering it, we might be able to pull in more of an audience for money, which is smart. I mean, there's no other way around it, because, I mean, ideally, sometimes with Rogers is ultimately the worst in the old scenario, where Rick is a witness. I called them and said, I have X amount of time left in my contract, and they basically told me it would cost me more to upgrade my phone than it would just to cancel my contract.
Yep.
And then I asked her, does that make sense to you? After she was like, yes. I think did I just hang up on her?
Yes.
Yeah, you just kind of hung up, and I'm like, dude, just call back and see if you get someone else, but we just said screw it.
We're too busy playing Last of Us at that point. So yeah, fucking...
See, what happened was, back in August, the government stepped in, the CRTC put their foot down and said, no more, we're changing everything around. That's why all of the companies all pretty much have the exact same layout now. That's why most of them have the same plans. It's almost like a monopoly right now where everybody has the same plans and the poor customer has to pay. Doesn't matter who you're with, it's the same price for everything pretty much nowadays.
And really Americans can bitch, right, Rick?
No,
because your rate plans are fucking retarded, and I hate to say it that way because I'm right. Where right now, for me, just to have, I wouldn't say a bare bones plan, I want to say a mid-tier plan, where it's like, I have like only 200 minutes, 1 gig of data, unlimited texting, unlimited nights and weekends starting at 7, I think, I don't even know. And to have the My 10, I'm still paying almost $100 a month.
That's a really old plan, and it's discontinued. We don't even have it anymore. A mid-range plan now is about $85, which will give you a gig, unlimited Canada-wide calling, unlimited text Canada-wide, call display, voicemail. That's what the plans are now.
Probably even save me money.
Well, maybe I'll go into your account when I go to work on Monday.
Oh, you're so nice.
No problem for you and me.
You give me 5,000 credit. 5,000 credit. Because I know you. Yeah? I bring you pasta sauce.
Da.
Yeah, okay. I won't pause this, Austin. I'm too far away. But anyway, the main thing I've noticed is like with plans down here, they're pretty much all the same. They're, for the most part, unlimited, just about everything. Mm-hmm. Your cost is going to change between company and company. Like with us, we have 500 gig per line before they throttle us. Or sorry, 500 meg, sorry. So, I mean, we do have unlimited internet. It's just after 500 meg, we throttle down to 3G. And
well,
so,
do you want to know why? Sorry, I fell out of my chair.
But, I mean, the unlimited minutes, trust me, as much as I call doctors, I'm so glad that I have the unlimited minutes. Unlimited text messaging, I mean, pretty much all the plans with all of the American companies are exactly the same. The cost changes from company to company, but there are no 200-minute, 1,000 text messages plans anymore.
Yeah, it's the same as Canada. Everything changed in the last couple of months, and everyone offers the exact same plans for pretty much the same price.
And this is not a monopoly. That is all. Someone had to play devil's advocate, I'm sorry. I was just staying out of it. Just staying.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, all the companies are slowly going GSM. For the longest time, I mean, you pretty much had two companies that were running GSM in the States, one that was running GSM in Canada. They're all kind of going straight to GSM, so some of them are still hanging on to their CDMA phones, but that's the other thing that, I mean, it's kind of going towards the monopoly like you were saying. We're all going to be using the same technology. We're all got the same plans. It's just almost comes down to a loyalty thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's bound to happen sooner or later. Like the CDMA technology, as Ryan used to say back in the day, is just advanced digital. That's all it is.
And it's old.
And it's old. Like, I mean, sure, keep the analog servers up just in case if there's a zombie apocalypse. Fine.
Because the analog servers will never ever die.
No.
Because they're just made for talk. No text, just talk.
But I mean, I can't believe Bell still made money off the technology where Rogers was technically 2 evolutionary steps ahead of them for the longest time. Mm-hmm. But it got to the point where they're like, okay, their data speeds, their phone connections, their text messaging, their packet rates, everything is raping us. Maybe we actually need to spend some money into this, and poof, it was done. Now Bell is still a huge market player, but at the same time, though, I'm honestly shocked they stuck around. I figured they would have been gone because their lack of evolution for the longest time.
Oh, they were milking an old infrastructure that they didn't need to update that they've been running for like 30 years. And only then, once everyone was like, well, hey, look at the grass is greener on the other side. Look at how fast they could do it. Look at, they could have more calls not drop because of this. And then all of a sudden, Bell had to sit there and go, oh, shit, something's going on. We need to, swim or we're going to sink.
Yeah, that's basically what it came down to. It came down to cell phone technology.
Mm-hmm.
But... all right. Is there anything else anyone wants to add? Because that's actually pretty informative. As long as Rick didn't fall off again, so we gotta be grateful about that. Good job, Rick.
Yay for shitty internet.
Oh yeah, just tell. I was talking to Ryan about when your internet was off. Tell Ryan what your internet speeds are like.
I tested it before I got back on this call, and I was at 2.6 MIPS.
For up or down?
Down.
Do you know what your up was?
0.9.
Do you want me to tell you what my internet's at?
No, I don't.
Can we tell you what my internet's at?
No, don't tell me.
No, I did tell you once, and you got very mad at me.
No, remember I was up there, and I ran a test because I had the tester on my phone, and I'm like, I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
They have issues, Ryan. They have to buffer their YouTube videos.
That sucks.
It does.
My home internet, they've redone all the plans, and for once they're giving a whole lot more for a whole lot less. So for about $40, $45 cheaper, I am getting double what I had before. And my speeds are ridiculous.
That's crazy. Okay, is there any other news topics that anyone wants to bring up today before we end this podcast? Hopefully that fully recorded, otherwise someone's getting punched.
And it's not me. And it's not Rick, because we're both nowhere near you. So I feel bad for the ginger.
She's at work.
Poor Shirley.
Poor midget just walking across the fucking street. Just run up and start beating it. Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining this week's podcast. And you have yourselves a chimichanga or two? Because I actually am going to go have a chimichanga now.
Actually, I have fajitas.
Oh, I'm jealous.
I had tacos.
Nice!
But was it a mighty taco?
Game over, man. It's game over.
Thanks for listening to the Droids You Are Looking For podcast. Stay tuned for next week's podcast.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.